Well, at least we got Grey Worm. Terrific.
Think of the past 20 years. The war, the murder, the misery. All of it because Robert Baratheon loved someone who didn't love him back.
How many others know?
Including us. 8.
Well, then it's not a secret anymore. If a handful of people know now, hundreds will know soon. Then what happens?
She loses the North. She loses the Vale. Sansa will make sure of that.
He has the better claim to the throne.
He doesn't want the throne.
I'm not sure it matters what he wants.
He loves our queen, and she loves him.
They can both rule.
If we marry them, they could rule together.
Yes!
She's his aunt.
They never stopped a Targaryen before.
No, but Jon grew up in Winterfell. Is marrying your Aunt common in the north? You know our queen better than I do. Do you think she wants to share the throne?
Oh boy, here we go. Look at this. Come on, Danny. Take him for a spin. What? Who got him? Oh! Oh! Oh, man! Oh, who fired that shot? Look out. Good, now get him.
Get to the skiff. No!
Whoa.
They are grateful for your protection within the walls of the Red Keep.
When the war is won, the lion shall rule the land, the kraken shall rule the sea, and our child shall one day rule them all.
What?
Keep the gates open. If she wants to take the castle, she'll have to murder thousands of innocent people first. So much for the breaker of chains.
Huh.
We will storm the city, my queen. We will kill your enemies. All of them.
Your Grace, I promised you I would look you in the eye and speak directly if I ever thought you were making a mistake. This is a mistake. Cersei needs to be destroyed. But if we attack King's Landing with Drogon and the Unsullied and the Dothraki, tens of thousands of innocents will die. That is why Cersei is bringing them into the Red Keep. Do not become what you have always struggled to defeat.
I'm here to free the world from tyrants. That is my destiny, and I will serve it no matter the cost.
It could be a fortnight before Jon and the allied armies make it to King's Landing. In the meantime, demand Cersei's surrender. Offer her her life in exchange for the throne.
Speaking to Cersei will not prevent a slaughter. But perhaps it's good the people see that Daenerys Stormborn made every effort to avoid bloodshed. And Cersei Lannister refused.
I've served tyrants most of my life. They all talk about destiny. Then there's the problem of Jon Snow. You know them both. Tell me, who do you think would make a better ruler?
He doesn't want the throne.
Have you considered the best ruler might be someone who doesn't want to rule?
We're discussing treason.
Don't pretend you haven't thought about it.
Of course I've thought about it. Thoughts aren't treason.
A Targaryen father and a Stark mother. Jon's the one man alive who might actually be able to keep the North in the Seven Kingdoms.
How many kings and queens have you served? 5, 6? I've lost count.
You've always known my reasons.
At a certain point, you choose a person you believe in, and you fight for that person.
Even if you know it's a mistake. You know where my loyalty stands. You know I will never betray the realm.
What is the realm? A vast continent home to millions of people, most of whom don't care who sits on the Iron Throne.
Millions of people, many of whom will die if the wrong person sits on that throne.
So what happens to her?
Each of us has a choice to make. I pray we choose wisely.
I'm legit torn. I guess I'm Team Jon Snow here. I'm in the camp of a leader who doesn't want to lead.
What happened?
Euron Greyjoy ambushed Queen Daenerys and her fleet. One of the dragons was killed, several ships destroyed, Missandei captured.
I always wanted to be there when they execute your sister. Seems like I won't get the chance.
You're not like your sister. You're not. You're better than she is. You're a good man and you can't save her. You don't need to die with her. Stay here. Stay with me.
Stay.
Please.
He can't.
You think I'm a good man?
The story won't let him, as much as we want him to.
I pushed a boy out a tower window, crippled him for life. For Cersei, I strangled my cousin with my own hands. Just to get back to Cersei, I would have murdered every man, woman, and child in Riverrun. For Cersei. She's hateful, and so am I.
Oh. You're not. You don't have to be. That's it? This feels very bad for Tyrion. This feels very bad. Cersei still hates him.
Queen Daenerys demands Cersei's unconditional surrender.
Huh.
And the immediate release of Missandei of North.
Queen Cersei demands Daenerys' unconditional surrender. If she refuses, Missandei of North will die here and now.
Help me. I don't want to see the city burn.
My lord, I am only a mouthpiece for our queen. Your queen's last dragon is vulnerable. Your armies are battle-weary and depleted, while ours have been reinforced with the Golden Company.
I know you don't care about your people. You're not a monster. You've always loved your children. I beg you. If not for yourself, then for your child. Your reign is over. But that doesn't mean your life has to end.
Yeah, you better catch her.
If you have any last words, now is the time.
Oh, I knew it. Ooh, the tension.
Dracarys!
Guess what, Tyrion? It didn't work. I think Dany just snapped. She's about to go full Targaryen. All right, so episode 4 takes us right up until what we assume is going to be a huge confrontation in Game of Thrones episode 5 in the final season. And I'm going to go on record as saying right now, immediately, this was a far more satisfying episode than the previous one. And I'm not going to try to hate on the Battle of Winterfell or the creative decisions made in that one. But this is the kind of episode that I prefer out of Game of Thrones. Full-blown, meaty, realized, character-driven performances with just fantastic payoffs and also incredible setups for things to come. Now, Thrones can only do this for so much longer, right? Because we only have 2 episodes left to go. But in this episode, you had this melancholic, sort of remorseful days after the battle where there was a wake and a funeral pyre and we said goodbye to major characters that to me was more emotional and more touching than the actual deaths that we witnessed in the chaos of the battle. There was an inevitable confrontation between Sansa essentially saying to Dany, like, we're not ready to fight yet. Postpone your attack on King's Landing, postpone your fight against Cersei, let us regroup. I kind of said that at the end of last week's episode. I think coming up to this one, there's going to be a period of sort of licking our wounds, catching our breath, but Dany has come to Westeros to claim the throne, and that's essentially what she's pushing on to do. But as she gets closer to doing that, she realizes that Cersei has been waiting for her this entire time. So she loses a dragon to Euron. Euron is the dragon slayer who takes out yet another one of Dany's dragons down and out. So she's down to one final dragon, her child. She has one child left. Now, let's talk about some really interesting things that happened through the course of the episode 2, which is this battle that's pitting. So there's the force of people that are going to be going against Cersei. But in that force, in that army, there's a split. There's a divide. There's people picking sides, whether they are Team Jon or Team Dany. And when you get Varys and Tyrion discussing it, Varys is still taking it from the point of what's good for the realm. Which of these two leaders, should either of them prevail, is good for the realm? And that's when Game of Thrones can just be at its best. Like, I thought in previous episodes, whether it be Hard Home or whether it be Battle of the Bastards, that the show did both things really well, right? The show did the political intrigue, the maneuvering, the positioning, the stuff that's driven by its incredible ensemble. It did it as well as the battles. Now, I preferred this episode so much more to them sort of figuring out, yes, there's a war coming. Yes, we still have to take the Iron Throne, but who do we want to take the Iron Throne when the victory comes? And so it's interesting that Cersei still has the upper hand because she's unified. She's got the people behind her. As much as Tyrion wants to say that the people hate her, they still turn to her for protection against the war that's coming. And that kind of happened with Blackwater, too. And she's got Euron on her side. And Euron, he's such a sleazeball. So it'll be interesting to see when the battle comes and who prevails. And even if Dany prevails, is she gonna have a faction of people who would rather support Jon Snow, right? Like, I think that's like a battle within a battle kind of thing, and yet only 2 episodes left to sort of resolve it. But by the end of this episode, watching Missandei get beheaded right in front of her, that's the tipping point. Like, that's the button that gets pressed that sends Daenerys into Mad Queen Dany. And I think she's going to, her advisors for the longest part, whether it be Jorah, who's not here to temper her anymore, whether it be Varys, who might be putting his chips into Jon Snow's camp, the people who basically calmed her down and said, you cannot attack King's Landing and lay siege, lay it to waste, essentially. They're all gone. They're not going to be able to talk her down. And so you're going to see some carnage, I think, next episode. You're going to see Dany going full bore, and also Grey Worm also being as furious at the love of his life being beheaded right in front of him. The two of them are going to mount every force they have and go after Cersei with everything that they've got. And Jon, I think, is going to fight alongside her because Jon loves her. He really does. He's connected to Dany. He's going to be by her side this entire time, and they'll fight with whatever they have left. And that was why it was interesting. Tormund is saying, how many times Jon has been brought back from the dead. He died. He came back. He fights. He just keeps fighting. This is what Jon does, right? Like, this is Jon's destiny. A lot of this conversation was about where your destiny is taking you to. We have Arya and the Hound heading toward King's Landing. They both talk about their destiny, unfinished business that they have. Obviously, the Hound is going after his brother. Arya still believes that the last person on her list, I believe, is Cersei. Definitely a prominent person on her list. So all of the roads are pointing towards King's Landing for our final 2 episodes. And I had that. I definitely did have that, but I kind of thought that the Night King and his army was still going to be important. And as we learned last week, they're gone. They're out of the picture. But it's still all heading toward King's Landing. There was a great conversation about the Stark family, the 4 remaining members of the Stark family, and how they need to bond together, and they don't necessarily trust Dany as much as Jon's trying to convince them to. And Jon reveals his secret. He tells him his lineage, and that secret doesn't last but 2 minutes because Sansa turns and tells it to Tyrion, and Tyrion tells it to Varys, and now it's out, right? And that's going to become a sticking point as we get through the battle that I assume is coming in next week's episode. I want to point out that I think we said goodbye to a few people for the last time. Like there was a definite farewell to Jon saying goodbye to Tormund, because I don't think Jon's going to get back to Winterfell before the show is over. We have 2 episodes left. In that conversation too, Sam and Gilly, they almost felt like they were getting goodbye. I'm not even going to be surprised if that was the end of Brienne of Tarth as she watched Jaime ride off in the night and head towards King's Landing. Not that I want to see her gone, but I don't necessarily need her to ride on to King's Landing. I think that she'd be okay. You know, she had her closure with Jaime. He broke her heart, chose Cersei over her, and he chose to go with Cersei. So he's going to be part of the conflict that takes place in King's Landing as the meanest person left on the show decides that I'm not going to lay down my right to the throne, and I'm going to defend it with everything that I have. So here's your friend's head. And bring on whatever you think you might have, which includes a dragon. And while I believe next week it will be a pretty significant battle scene, what that might mean is that, if we get a huge battle in episode 5, that your finale will be sort of a, hopefully, character-driven, weighty, dramatic bow on the entirety of the series, and giving us some type of goodbye or closure. But I wish you writers luck. I'm not quite sure the type of ending that's going to satisfy everybody, but we're pointing in the right direction. And this was a fantastic episode. So let me know what you guys think. I want to hear your thoughts and your opinions. You guys were vocal last week in not necessarily agreeing with me dismissing the way that the Battle of Winterfell was presented in its darkness and its chaos. So I'm curious to see what everybody thought about this one. I thought this episode was really, really great. You're going to be back with me next week. We will probably get a midweek type of conversation starter in one of our videos as we figure out what's going to be going on between Dany and Cersei. And then we'll be back here next week, next Sunday, for our reaction video to episode number 5 of season 8 of Game of Thrones. So hit subscribe, turn on your notifications, and as soon as we post that video here on CinemaBlend's YouTube page, you guys will be alerted to it.